This episode is about the Baba Yaga, also known as Baba Yaga, Jezebaba, Paw of Bone, and Yaga Baba. In Slavic folklore, Baba Yaga is a supernatural being, appearing as an old hag who cooks and devours her victims, usually children. She flies through the forest in a mortar, using the pestle as a rudder, sweeping away the tracks behind her with a broom made from silver birch. She is said to live in a log cabin that moves around on a pair of chicken legs. The keyhole to her front door is a mouth filled with sharp teeth. The fence outside is made from human bones topped with skulls. Often this fence has one pole missing its skull, which is a place where she threatens to mount the hero's skull after eating them. In other legends, the house does not reveal its door until a magical phrase is recited: "Little house, turn your back on the forest and turn towards me." She is said to often accompany death on his travels, devouring newly released souls. Although she appears as a terrifying creature, her depictions vary greatly across tales, ranging from a child-eating monster to helping those that encounter her or seek her out. She may play a maternal role, having associations with forest wildlife, or help a protagonist find his missing bride. Stories about Baba Yaga have been used in teaching children the importance of reverence for nature and the spirit world. They were also used by worried parents in an attempt to frighten children from wandering far from home. Although she has taken many forms throughout the varied tales, the most common portrayal of Baba Yaga is that of the old hag. She is depicted as ugly and wrinkled, bony, with iron teeth, and a long nose, which in some tales is so long that it touches the ceiling when she sleeps. She has a normal leg and a bone leg, which is why she is often nicknamed Baba Yaga, Paw of Bone. These two legs represent the world of the living and the world of the dead through which she wanders. She is commonly illustrated as riding around on a mortar rather than a broom, wielding a pestle as both a flying aid. In Old Russian, Baba could mean midwife, sorceress, or fortune teller. In Polish, Serbo-Croatian, Macedonian and Bulgarian, Baba means grandmother or old woman. Yaga appears in various Slavic languages. Serbo-Croatian, horror, shudder, chill; Slovene, anger; and in Old Church Slavonic meaning disease, illness. The first clear reference to Baba Yaga, Yaga Baba, occurs in 1755. Mikhail V Lomonosov's Rossiyskaya Grammatica, Russian grammar, as a figure lifted from Slavic folklore. It's likely that her origins derived from many ancient oral tales that later were built upon, frayed and reconstructed into written folk stories. Although there are many tales referencing the figure of Baba Yaga, there unfortunately appears to be no clear explanation as to her origins. Did her journey begin as a lowly human witch, who rose to power through darker means? Is she a force of nature? Or was she a supernatural force, possibly created by a greater power? These are questions alongside many others that will possibly never be answered due to her shattered history. Baba Yaga is a very controversial character. Although she does not appear as a benevolent figure, she is also not entirely evil. She can be portrayed as a helpful guide who should be approached with caution, but quite often in most Slavic folk tales, she is portrayed as an antagonist, in which she kidnaps children and threatens to eat them. Baba Yaga comes across as a very frightening and unpredictable character in how she would react to a specific individual as plagued with uncertainty, with the results swinging wildly, depending on her mood that particular day. Arriving on her doorstep in search of aid could be met with generosity, just as easily as it could result in your head ornamenting her fence. It is said that for every question Baba Yaga is asked, she will age 1 year, which could explain why she is often reluctant to help those whom visit her hut. However, this aging can be reversed by a potion she creates from blue roses. She is said by some to control the very weather itself, and because of this, you are able to tell when she is approaching by hearing the wind whistling and howling through the trees. A key figure from Slavic folklore, Baba Yaga certainly fulfills the requirements of the wicked witch. She lives in a house that walks through the forest on chicken legs, and sometimes flies around, close to ground level, in a giant mortar and pestle. She usually appears as a hag or crone, and she is known in most witch-like fashion to feast upon children. However, she is also a far more complex character than that synopsis suggests. Cunning, clever, helpful as much as a hindrance, she could indeed be the most feminist character in folklore. So enduring is the legend of Baba Yaga that a new anthology of short stories, Into the Forest, Black Spot Books, has just been released. featuring 23 interpretations of the character, all by leading women horror writers. The stories span centuries, with Sarah Tantlinger's of Moonlight and Moss offering a dream-like evocation of one of the classic Baba Yaga stories, Vasilisa the Beautiful, while Karina Bisset's Water Like Broken Glass sets Baba Yaga against the backdrop of World War II. Meanwhile, Stork Bites by E.V. Knight ramps up the horrific aspects of the myth as a salutary tale for inquisitive children. The history of Yaga Baba Yaga appears in many Slavic and especially Russian folk tales, with the earliest recorded written mention of her coming in 1755, as part of a discourse on Slavic folk figures in Mikhail V. Lomonosov's book Russian Grammar. Before that, she had appeared in woodcut art at least from the 17th century, and then made regular appearances in books of Russian fairy tales and folklore. If you're a film fan, you might recognize the name from the John Wick film starring Keanu Reeves, in which the eponymous anti-hero is called Baba Yaga by his enemies, giving him the mysterious allure of an almost mythical boogeyman. Japanese animation legend Hayao Miyazaki used Baba Yaga as the basis for the bathhouse proprietor in his award-winning 2001 movie Spirited Away. Baba Yaga appears in music, too. Modest Mussorgsky's 1874 Sweet Pictures at an exhibition features a ninth movement called The Hut on Fowl's Legs, Baba Yaga. She might well be making an appearance on the small screen soon, as well. Neil Gaiman used her in his Sandman comics for DC, the adaptation of which has just had its second season announced by Netflix. Gaiman also used Baba Yaga in the Books of Magic comic series, and the way he has deployed the character highlights her moral ambiguity. Where she was helpful in Sandman, she is more of a baddie in Books of Magic. He tells BBC Culture he first encountered Baba Yaga aged 6 or 7 when he read children's fantasy book The Dragon's Sister and Timothy Travels by British writer Margaret Story, in which she appeared. I felt she was the most interesting of all the witches, and felt that way even more when I read some of the Russian stories in which she appears, he says. She seems to have her own life outside of the story, which so few fairy tale characters do. What lifts Baba Yaga above the usual two-dimensional witches of folklore is her duality, sometimes as an almost heroine, sometimes as a villain, and her rich, earthy evocation of womanhood. Baba Yaga still remains one of the most ambiguous, cunning, and clever women of folklore. She commands fear and respect, and simultaneously awe and desire. I admire her carelessness and her independence, even her cruelty, and in a world where women are so often reduced to hazy blurs of inconsequence, she is a figure that reminds us that we are ferocious and untamable, and that such freedoms often come at a cost. In fact, she's something of a proto-feminist icon. Absolutely she is, says Yi Izzy Yu, one of the authors who has contributed a story to Into the Forest. One of the ways in which she merits such a description is that she completely upends the nurturing mother stereotype applied to women by eating children rather than pushing them out or breastfeeding them. She's powerful despite not being attractive in a conventional sense. She lives by her own magical terms rather than mundane rules, says Izzy. And she challenges conceptual categories at every turn. Even her home is both house and chicken, making her, yes, housebound in a sense, but not in any way tied down. In this way, I guess, she is an early motorhome gypsy. Baba Yaga is similar to other trickster characters from many mythologies, such as Norse god of mischief Loki or Coyote from Native American folklore. While Baba Yaga often plays a villain, she is also likely to offer assistance. For example, in Vasilisa the Beautiful, she helps free Vasilisa from the clutches of her evil stepfamily, and while Baba's dangerous to deal with, like many of those who operate on the shadowy side of the law in contemporary movies, she can as well prove herself invaluable in dangerous circumstances. In this way, Baba Yaga complicates the passive female nurturing role with a type of outlaw power that you ordinarily only see associated with men. You could say then that Baba Yaga crosses the wicked witch trope with the fairy godmother trope to create an ultimately far more unpredictable and powerful role than either of those. The trope of the mountain or forest crone or witch is a popular one across East Asia, mainly because the mountains are associated with great spiritual power and with hermit figures who decide to live life on their own terms, much like how Baba Yaga is very much her own woman. She adds that in Japan there's a character called Yoma who is strikingly similar to Baba Yaga. She too is often portrayed as having repulsive physical features and a taste for children. She is also morally ambiguous, alternately described as a monster cannibal or an agent of change and transformation, and a guardian of heroes. One of the unique facets of the Baba Yaga myth is her ramshackle cottage that walks on chicken legs, recounting its creation and construction. Does the legend of Baba Yaga have any lessons for us today? She's a shamanic trickster, a category and boundary crosser, a reminder that freedom lies a little beyond the border of social norms, and that we can learn as much from the dark as the light. Ultimately, I think she teaches both and logic as well. She reminds us that we are both hero and villain, that a chicken can also be a house, and that we can embrace both the desires of the flesh and the secrets of the spirit. Pause equals 3.